Good to have you back. Today I've got some stuff that'll keep you on edge. Drop a like and subscribe if you want more. Let's get into it. I, 27 female, found a pill dissolving in my nightstand water, and I think my fiance, 31 male, has been doing this for months. This one was posted 3 days ago to r/relationship advice under a throwaway account, and I am telling you right now, this is one of those stories where every sentence you read makes the next one worse. Buckle in. OP opens things up sounding almost too calm, like she is not fully caught up to what she is describing yet. So I, 27 female, have been with my fiance, 31 male, for 2 years. We got engaged 6 months ago and I moved into his place shortly after. Everything felt right. He was attentive, consistent, the kind of partner my friends were jealous of. But for the past several months, I have been waking up every morning feeling like I got hit by a truck. Groggy, disoriented, sometimes nauseous. I chalked it up to stress and bad sleep. I have always kept a glass of water on my nightstand, have done it since I was a kid. 3 nights ago, I could not sleep. I was lying there with my eyes barely open, and I watched him get out of bed, walk to my side, and carefully drop something into my water glass. My heart was pounding so hard I thought he would hear it. I waited until he was asleep, fished out the half-dissolved tablet, wrapped it in a tissue, and hid it in my purse. The next morning, I brought it straight to a friend of mine who is a pharmacist. She identified fragments of a sedative hypnotic. Neither of us has a prescription for anything like that. While he was at work, I got into his laptop and found a burner email account with months of overseas pharmacy orders, all shipped to a P.O. box I did not know he had. Then I found the spreadsheet, columns for dates, dosages, and one column labeled responsiveness level, tracking how deeply I slept on each dose. I sat on the bathroom floor and threw up. She is on the bathroom floor staring at a spreadsheet that proves the man she agreed to marry has been running dosage trials on her while she sleeps. A responsiveness column. He was grading how unconscious she was. That is where this story starts, and I need you to understand. It gets so much worse from here. All right, picking back up with this one. When we left off, she had the screenshot saved, she had the spreadsheet open, and she was sitting on her bathroom floor trying to keep it together. What comes next is the part that genuinely made me put my phone down the first time I read this post. I went through that spreadsheet line by line. It started 2 months into our relationship. 2 months! We hadn't even said I love you yet. Every entry had a date, a dosage in milligrams, a time labeled admin, which I'm guessing means when he dropped it in my water, and a column that just said RESP, short for responsiveness. The early entries had notes like stirred at 2 a.m., adjusted next dose, and no response to touch at 1:47 a.m. I need you to sit with that for a second. No response to touch at 1:47 in the morning. There were nights I woke up with bruises on my inner thighs and hips I couldn't explain. I told myself I was thrashing in my sleep. There was a 3-month stretch last fall where I genuinely believed something was medically wrong with me. I went to my doctor twice, got blood work. Everything came back normal, and I felt like I was losing my mind. I checked those dates against the spreadsheet. The dosages doubled during that exact window. He was increasing them. He was refining it. That night, I lay in bed next to him with my heart pounding so hard I thought he would feel it through the mattress. The water glass sat on my nightstand, and I did not touch it. I matched my breathing to his and waited until 3 a.m., then took my phone into the bathroom, locked the door, turned the shower on, and called a domestic violence hotline. She is right there next to him, inches away, controlling every single breath so he does not suspect a thing. And that 3 a.m. call with the shower running for cover, that is the first moment she tells another living person what she found. That is when this stops being a discovery and starts becoming a plan. Because the spreadsheet, it does not read like rage. It does not read like jealousy or control the way you would expect. It reads like lab notes, dates, dosages, observations. clinical and completely detached. And that is what makes this so much worse than just a bad relationship. This is where OP stops being a victim and starts being a ghost. And the way she describes it is going to make your skin crawl. The next 48 hours were the longest of my life. I called my sister first. I couldn't even get the words out. I just kept saying, "I need help. I need to leave. Please don't ask me why yet." She didn't ask. She just said, "Bring whatever you need." I started moving things out piece by piece. My passport, birth certificate, the screenshots I printed at the library, a bag of clothes. I hid everything in my trunk and drove it to her place while he was at work. The hardest part was the acting. We cooked dinner together that first night. He made pasta and I stood next to him chopping garlic, and I wanted to scream. We watched TV after. He put his arm around me and kissed my forehead before bed, and I lay there counting my own heartbeat, waiting for him to fall asleep. The second night, he started getting weird. He kept glancing at my water glass. He said, "Babe, you look exhausted. You really need to hydrate more before bed." I smiled and said, "Yeah, you're right," and pretended to drink. He watched me do it. He was watching my throat to see if I swallowed. I poured it out in the bathroom 20 minutes later. By morning, he was quiet. Not angry quiet, calculating quiet. I knew I was running out of time. The comments were not handling this well. The spreadsheet. He was literally running a dosage trial on you like you were a lab rat. I am so sorry. Please tell me you've already left. The fact that he was calm enough to log this in a spreadsheet means he doesn't think he's doing anything wrong. That's the scariest part to me. He fully rationalized this. I hate that I'm saying this, but check if there are cameras in your bedroom. Someone who keeps a spreadsheet like that is documenting more than just doses. I had the same thought, and I tore the bedroom apart while he was at work yesterday. I didn't find cameras, but I found a second phone in his gym bag that's locked with a pin I don't know. I gave it to the police this morning. I don't want to know what's on it, but I also can't stop thinking about it. And that last detail, the second phone, that is going to matter a lot more than anyone expected. OP made it out safe. And a few days later, she came back with an update post. I got the lab results back, and there was a name in his spreadsheet that wasn't mine. I'm writing this from my sister's couch. I went to the police yesterday with every screenshot I had and the tablet fragment in a Ziploc bag. The officer taking my statement was thorough, and at one point she asked me something I wasn't expecting. "Has he had any prior long-term relationships?" I said yes, one that I knew of, ended about 2 years before we met. And then I remembered something. The spreadsheet. I'd been so focused on my own tab that I never looked at the others. I pulled up my screenshots right there in the station and scrolled. There was a second tab, a different woman's name. Same columns, same structure. Dates, dosages, a column for responsiveness ratings. Entries spanning what looked like a year and a half. The last row for her was one line. Moved out 11/14. Nothing else. The officer went very quiet. I tracked the woman down through a chain of mutual acquaintances. She picked up on the second call. When I started explaining what I'd found, she began crying before I could finish. She told me she left him after a hospitalization. Sudden organ distress the doctors could never explain. She'd always suspected something, but had no proof. We stayed on the phone for almost an hour, barely speaking, just sitting with it. I wasn't his first experiment. I was the improved protocol. The comment section on this update went exactly where you'd expect. This is not a relationship problem. This is a crime. Full stop. You need a lawyer and a police report before he finds out you know. I work in pharmacy, and the drug you're describing has no legitimate reason to be in someone's water glass. This is textbook chemical submission. Please be safe. Seconding this. I'm an ER nurse, and we see patients with unexplained sedation symptoms who get worked up for neurological issues when the answer is sitting at home in their partner's sock drawer. It's way more common than people think, and almost never gets flagged. OP came back one last time with an update post. I got the lab results back, and there was a name in his spreadsheet that wasn't mine. He was arrested last Thursday, controlled substance charges and assault. The other woman, the one from the second tab, she's fully cooperating with investigators and filed her own report. My toxicology panel came back, and there are still trace levels of the sedative in my system. My doctor said, given the duration and dosing pattern, it could take months to fully clear. I'm in therapy now, twice a week. I thought I'd feel relief when the handcuffs went on, but I just felt hollow. The thing nobody tells you about something like this is how it rewires the small stuff. I can't drink water I didn't pour myself. I sleep with my bedroom door locked, even at my sister's house. If someone hands me a glass of anything, I flinch before I can stop myself. My niece handed me juice last weekend and I almost dropped it. She's 4. She looked so confused. I keep thinking about all the nights I thought I was just a heavy sleeper. I wasn't sleeping. I was being put down like an animal in a lab. The comments on this final post hit different. The responsiveness levels column made me physically ill. He was calibrating how incapacitated you needed to be. That's predator behavior with a methodology. This one sits with me, not because of the drugging itself, which is horrifying enough, but because of what that spreadsheet represents. This wasn't impulsive. This wasn't reactive abuse. This was a man running a controlled experiment on the person lying next to him. Dates, dosages, responsiveness levels. And then there's the second tab, the one with another woman's name. That's the detail that changes everything. He didn't just do this before. He refined it. He adjusted his protocol. OP wasn't his first subject. She was his improved version. She got out. She's safe. But safe doesn't mean the same thing it used to. All right, on to the next one. I, 26 male, started a lawn care business, and one of my regulars just told me something about my childhood I can't stop thinking about. Posted to r/offmychest 3 days ago by Lawn Care Throw 26. This one starts slow and ordinary. A guy, a mower, and a Thursday routine. But trust me, it does not stay ordinary. I'm 26 male, and I run a small lawn care business. Nothing fancy, just me, a trailer, and a schedule I built up from zero. I've got about 15 regular clients, and most of them I could describe in one word. The guy who watches me from the window the entire time. The couple who leave a check under the doormat so they don't have to talk. The lady who wants her edges done 3 different ways every single week. But there's one client I could never sum up that easy. Thursday rotation. Quiet woman, mid-60s, lives alone in this little ranch house off Birch Street. From the very first cut, she was different. She tips double what anyone else does. She brings me lemonade without me ever asking. And she asks me real questions. Not how's business, but whether I'm sleeping okay, whether I've got people in my life looking out for me. It was a little intense, but I always just chalked it up to her being lonely. 7 months of Thursdays went by like that. Then last week, I'm packing up my trimmer in her driveway, and she comes outside looking like she's about to fall apart. She grabs my wrist, not hard but deliberate, and she says a name, a childhood nickname. One I haven't heard since I was 4 years old, since before I got pulled out of my mother's house. A name I never told a single person in my entire adult life. I froze. She was crying. This woman has known exactly who I am for 7 months, and she never said a word. She's been watching me build my life every Thursday in silence. He's standing in a stranger's driveway holding a weed trimmer, and his entire childhood just detonated under his feet. Except she's not a stranger. She never was. This story is only getting started. She's standing there in the driveway, and whatever wall she'd been holding up for 7 months just falls apart all at once. Her name is Diane. She told me through tears that had clearly been building for months. She was my babysitter when I was 4. 2, sometimes 3 days a week while my mother worked. About 8 months of that before she made the call. She's the one who called CPS. I'm standing in this woman's driveway holding a weed trimmer, and my entire childhood is getting recontextualized in real time. I knew I was removed young. I have almost no memories from before foster care, just flashes, sounds, a smell sometimes. I always figured it was a teacher who noticed something, or a neighbor who saw something through a window once. Never imagined it was someone who actually knew me, someone who was in the house. Diane said she couldn't keep it in anymore. Every Thursday when I pulled up, she wanted to tell me. She'd rehearse it all morning, and then I'd show up and she just couldn't find the words. I didn't say much. I don't think I said anything, actually. I packed up my gear, drove home, and sat in my truck in the driveway for 20 minutes with the engine off. Didn't cry, didn't call anyone, just sat there trying to untangle what I was feeling. Part of it was gratitude, real deep gratitude for this woman. But underneath that was something heavier. The realization that whatever was happening to me was bad enough that someone who was only around a few days a week felt she had no choice but to step in. And I can't even remember most of it. Someone saved my life, and I don't have a single clear memory of what she saved me from. He doesn't dramatize that. He just puts it out there like a fact he hasn't figured out what to do with yet. And that's the thing about this story that hits differently than most. It's not a betrayal reveal or some hidden villain. It's the opposite. Someone did the hardest, most thankless thing you can do for a kid, and then disappeared for over 2 decades. No credit, no closure, just a woman who made a phone call that changed a boy's entire life and then had to walk away from the aftermath. And now she's handing him lemonade on Thursdays like that's enough. Like just seeing him alive and okay is the only thing she ever needed. OP went quiet for a few days after that conversation. When he came back to the thread, the whole tone had shifted. I spent the next 3 days trying to piece together my own history. I called the county office where my case would have been filed and got nowhere. Records sealed, redirected twice, put on hold for 40 minutes before someone told me I'd need to file a formal request. I called my former foster mother, Linda. She remembered me being placed with her when I was 4, but didn't know who made the original report. She said someone loved you enough to make that call, and I had to hang up before I lost it. Here's the thing that really messed me up, though. Every interaction with Diane started replaying in my head, but with different context. The lemonade wasn't just lemonade. The questions about whether I was eating enough weren't small talk. There was one time she asked if I had people looking out for me, and I laughed and said, "Just my customers." She got real quiet after that, and I thought she was being awkward. She wasn't being awkward. She was trying not to cry. I almost didn't go back Thursday. Sat in my truck outside her house for 10 minutes, arguing with myself about whether this was too weird now. But I went. She was standing at the front door like she'd been watching the street all morning. Neither of us said anything big. I mowed, she brought lemonade, I sat on her porch and drank it. That was it. That was enough. The comments on this one landed hard. The fact that she moved back to the same town and found you through a hardware store flyer is the most heartbreaking thing I've read on this site. She never stopped thinking about you. That's the part that wrecks me the most, honestly. She told me she kept the flyer in her kitchen drawer for 2 weeks before she called the number. She said she almost didn't because she was afraid I'd look like my mother and she wouldn't be able to handle it. I don't look like my mother. I guess that helped. Former foster kid here. The people who called for us and we never got to thank, they carry that weight forever. You being there right now means more to her than you'll ever understand. So OP was not planning to come back to the thread, but a few days later, he dropped another post. She gave me the journal, and I haven't slept in 2 days. I wasn't going to post again, but I need to get this out. Thursday came around, and I went to Diane's like normal. She was standing at the door again, but this time she asked me to come inside. She sat me down at her kitchen table and put something in front of me. A composition notebook. The kind you'd get at a dollar store. It was soft at the edges, like it had been held 1,000 times. She told me she kept it the whole time she watched me. I opened it, and my hands haven't stopped shaking since. She didn't call CPS once. She called 7 times. 7. The journal is everything. Dates, descriptions of bruises she found on me when she changed my clothes, photographs she took with a disposable camera without anyone knowing, handwritten letters she sent to the agency begging them to come faster. Every entry is more desperate than the last. The final one is dated 2 days before I was taken out of that house. It says, "If they don't come by Friday, I'm taking him myself. I don't care what happens to me." I had to close it after that. I also found out that after I was removed, my mother figured out it was Diane who made the calls. She showed up at Diane's door and threatened her life. Diane moved 3 states away and didn't come back for a decade. She only moved back recently. and she recognized me from a flyer I put up at the hardware store when I started my business. She booked me on purpose. She has been choosing to find me this entire time. The comment section on this update was something else. If they don't come by Friday, I'm taking him myself. I just stared at my screen for a full minute. That woman was ready to go to prison for a 4-year-old. 7 calls. 7. And it still took that long. The system is so broken it makes me physically ill. It's worse than people think. I aged out of the system, and I've seen cases where there were 12, 15 calls before a single visit. Caseworkers are drowning. Diane doing what she did, the photos, the journal, that's literally the only reason it worked at all. Most people just call once and assume someone handles it. A couple days after that last post, OP came back with an update. She gave me the journal, and I haven't slept in 2 days. I wasn't planning on writing again, but here I am. I'm still going through the journal. I can only get through a few pages at a time before I have to put it down and just sit with it for a while. Some of the entries are so specific it feels like reading about someone else's childhood, except it was mine. I can't describe what that does to you. Diane and I have had dinner together twice since everything came out. Once at her kitchen table, once at this little diner off the highway in town. We don't really talk about the journal when we're together. We talk about normal things. What I've been watching, how her garden is coming along, whether the rain is going to mess up my schedule. It feels like we're both circling something that neither of us has the right words for yet. I don't know what she is to me. Not a mother, not a grandmother, something that doesn't have a word. I mow her lawn every Thursday for free now, and she's finally stopped arguing about it. I think she understands. She saved my life before I could even form a memory of it. I don't know how you repay something like that. And then the account went quiet, but the comments kept pouring in. Please keep mowing her lawn, man. Please keep showing up on Thursdays. That's the repayment. She just wants to see you alive and okay. This is one of those stories that sits in your chest wrong. Not because something dramatic happened, but because you realize the most ordinary moment of this guy's week, a woman handing him a glass of lemonade on a Thursday afternoon, was actually the heaviest thing in the room. Diane spent 22 years carrying a weight this man didn't even know existed. She never asked him to help her hold it. She just wanted to see him okay. And every Thursday, she got to. All right, let's move on to the next one. My sister, 29 female, has been tracking my ex-husband's new wife for almost 3 years, and I just found out how far she's actually gone. This one sat with me for a while. Posted 6 days ago on r/offmychest by Throwaway Drained 91. I want to say up front, the way this story builds is not loud. It is quiet and slow and methodical. And that is exactly what makes it so unsettling. She starts off pretty grounded, actually, almost too calm for what she is about to walk us through. But you will notice pretty quickly that this calm is not peace. It is shock that has not caught up yet. I, 33 female, got divorced about 2 years ago. We share a kid, things are civil enough, we do custody exchanges without drama most of the time. It is what it is. My older sister, 29 female, took the divorce harder than I did, honestly. She has always been the protective one, the one who would show up ready to fight if anyone so much as looked at me wrong. I loved that about her. Or I did. Last week I was at her apartment. My phone was dying and I went digging through her desk drawer looking for a charger. I did not find a charger. What I found was a 3-ring binder. Thick, like textbook thick. The first page was a printed Google Maps route to a city 3 states over. Behind that, a gym class schedule highlighted in at least 4 different colors. Then a photograph. A woman's work badge, clearly taken through a car window with some kind of zoom lens. And behind that, page after page of handwritten notes, rating this woman's daily outfits, dated entries going back 27 months. I kept flipping and it hit me all at once. The woman in every single photo, every single note, she was my ex-husband's new wife, someone I barely even think about anymore. This was not casual social media curiosity, this was a catalog. I was still standing there with the binder open and my hands shaking when I heard my sister's car pull into the driveway. She is frozen in that room. 27 months of something she cannot even name yet spread out in front of her. Her sister's keys are about to hit the door, and this, all of this, is just the beginning. We are just getting started with this one. So her sister walks through the door, and OP does not ease into it. Doesn't build up to it. She puts the binder right on the table between them and waits. I waited until she sat down and put the binder on the table. She went white for 2 seconds, then her face changed. Defensive first. Said I had no business going through her things. I said I was looking for a charger, not a stalker's scrapbook. Then she went calm. Eerily calm. Said she was keeping an eye out because that woman is raising your child half the time. I pushed back. The outfit ratings? The parking lot? She said she first saw the new wife at a custody exchange 18 months after the split, and something didn't sit right. That was it. After she went to bed, I went through the binder again. Back pocket, gas receipts, 11 of them, all from the route to their state. She drove across state lines at least 11 times. There were full-color printouts of the wife's private Instagram. She made a fake account to follow her. Then smaller things clicked. My sister always knew details I never shared. A haircut, a new car. I assumed mutual friends, but there are none. She was watching this woman the whole time in front of me. I keep wondering if all my venting during the divorce fed this. Every angry text, every tearful call. Did I hand her a reason? I didn't sleep. I called my ex the next morning. That realization is the part that eats at her. Not the binder, not the receipts. The fact that none of it was hidden. Her sister was dropping little details in conversation that she had no way of knowing, and OP just took every single one at face value. This was happening in plain sight the entire time, and now she is lying awake, replaying every offhand comment, wondering how she missed all of it. And now she has to make the hardest phone call, because her ex still has no idea someone has been watching his wife for close to 3 years. This is where OP starts pulling on threads and nobody around her wants to hold the rope. I called my ex the next morning. I didn't plan what to say, I just told him everything. The binder, the routes, the gym schedule, the photos. He was quiet for a long time. Then he got angry. Not at me, at the situation. Then his voice dropped and he said his wife had been telling him for months she felt like someone was watching her at the gym. They chalked it up to anxiety from a bad relationship she had before him. When I told him about the outfit ratings, he went completely silent. I could hear him breathing, but he didn't say a word for what felt like a full minute. I told my parents that same week, expecting them to be horrified. My mom said, "Your sister just worries too much. She has always been like that." My dad didn't say anything. I sat there, wondering if I was the crazy one. After that, I started pulling away from my sister, making excuses, dodging plans, keeping texts short. She noticed fast. Within days, she was texting constantly, showing up at my place without warning, asking me why I was being weird. The more space I tried to make, the harder she pressed. One night, she showed up at 9 with takeout and just stood at my door smiling like nothing had changed. The comment section went in on this one. 27 months of outfit ratings? That's not protective older sister energy, that's a full-blown fixation. Please tell me you've told someone besides Reddit. I had a friend who did something similar after my breakup. Started out as looking out for me and ended with her showing up at my ex's job. Some people use your pain as permission to act out their own issues. The fact that she never told you is the part that scares me. She wasn't doing this for you, she was doing it for herself. That's exactly what keeps me up at night. I never once asked her to look into anything. After the divorce, I told her explicitly I was done talking about him. She nodded and said she understood. Meanwhile, she'd already been driving to another state to sit outside this woman's gym. I keep replaying every conversation we've had in the last 2 years, wondering what was real. And that last line from OP is the one that sticks. Not the binder, not the parking lot visits. The quiet realization that every normal conversation she had with her sister for 2 years might have been a performance. 2 weeks went by. Then, OP came back with an update. The energy was different this time. Flatter, like someone who stopped being shocked and just started being tired. She contacted my ex's wife's estranged mother, and I handed everything over. I didn't want to come back here, but I don't really have anywhere else to put this. My ex called me again last week. His wife has been getting anonymous packages at her job. Flowers, a bottle of her exact perfume, and a birthday card that used her childhood nickname. A nickname only close family would know. He asked me point blank if my sister sent them. I said I didn't know, but I already knew the answer. He told me he did some digging. My sister made a fake Facebook profile months ago and befriended his wife's estranged mother. They had been talking for months. She built an entire online friendship with this woman just to pull personal details. The nickname, the perfume, things nobody outside that family would ever have access to. When he told me that, I just sat there. He said he has talked to a lawyer and will pursue a restraining order against my entire family unless I cooperate fully. I didn't fight it. I didn't hesitate. I sent him every screenshot I had of my sister's texts. I sent him photos of every single page from that binder I took the first night. All of it. She didn't just watch this woman. She got inside her family history and she used it. The comments hit different on this one. I don't want to scare you, but this pattern, the tracking, the scheduling, the photographs through car windows, this is textbook predatory stalking behavior. Your sister needs a professional intervention, not a conversation. Seconding this hard. I've seen custody cases where a relative's behavior like this gets attributed to the client. Courts don't always distinguish between my sister did it without my knowledge and her family is harassing us. OP needs documentation that she was not involved and that she took action the moment she found out. The binder is what got me. People who keep binders aren't doing it casually. That's someone who's organized their obsession into a project. And that last part kind of sums it up. This stopped being about loyalty a long time ago. OP knows that now, but knowing it doesn't make it any easier to carry. So here is where everything finally landed. The cease and desist came from my ex-husband's lawyer on a Tuesday. By that evening, my sister, 29 female, had blocked me on everything. Phone, Instagram, Facebook, email, all of it. Gone. No argument, no defense, no goodbye. Just total silence. I sat there staring at my phone, refreshing every app like maybe it was a glitch. It was not a glitch. I called my mom that night, expecting her to at least acknowledge how serious this was. Instead, she told me I had betrayed my own family, that my sister was just being protective, and I threw her under the bus for a man who already left me. My dad would not even come to the phone. I have been low contact with both of them since, but honestly, the thing that broke me, the thing I still think about every single night, is that I changed my locks. Not because of my ex, not because of his wife, because of my sister. Because if she could track a complete stranger across 3 state lines, build fake profiles, befriend that woman's estranged mother, learn a childhood nickname nobody outside the family would know, then what does she already know about me? What has she already done that I just have not found yet? I keep looking at my front door and wondering how long ago she made herself a copy of my key. The comments were split right down the middle on this one. I'm a family law paralegal. If your ex finds out your sister has been doing this, it could absolutely affect your custody arrangement. You need to get ahead of this immediately. And that is the part of this story that really sits with you. It is not the binder. It is not the parking lot visits or the fake Facebook profile or the birthday card with a nickname nobody should have known. It is how long all of it went completely unnoticed. How her own family looked at every piece of evidence and called it love. And now OP is the one changing her locks and lying awake at night, carrying guilt for a fixation she did not create and cannot undo. Some people in the comments told her to grieve the sister she thought she had. Others warned her that this is probably not over. And the worst part is both of those things can be true at the exact same time. Alright, the next story hits just as hard. Let's get into it. My dog, German Shepherd, 4 years old, has been growling at the same closet every single night for a month. Tonight, I finally opened it, and I don't know who to call. This one was posted to r/nosleep 3 days ago by Nope Not Sleeping _ And honestly, it is the kind of story where the most terrifying part is just how normal everything sounds at first. She doesn't build up to it slowly either. The post just drops you right into the house. I'm 27 female, and I've been living alone in my grandmother's house since she passed about 8 months ago. It's a quiet neighborhood, older homes, the kind of street where nothing ever happens. The house creaks, sure, but I grew up visiting this place. I know every sound it makes. My dog, Bruno, is a 4-year-old German Shepherd. Calmest dog you'll ever meet. Never barks at nothing, never gets spooked. About a month ago, he started doing this thing where every night, right around 2 a.m., he'd plant himself in the hallway facing the closet and just growl. Low and steady. Not aggressive, more like a warning. I figured mice maybe, or old pipes settling. You tell yourself stuff like that because the alternative is too weird. But then weeks go by, and it doesn't stop. Then I started noticing this smell coming from that end of the hallway. Faint, kind of sweet, but wrong. I couldn't place it. And then I saw the scratch marks. On the inside of the closet door. I know for a fact those were not there before. So tonight I decided to just empty the whole closet. Pulled out coats, boxes of grandma's stuff, all of it. The back panel was loose. I pulled it away, and behind it there was this narrow crawl space between the walls. Inside, I found a rolled-up sleeping bag, empty water bottles, granola bar wrappers, and a phone charger plugged into an outlet I didn't even know existed. Someone has been living inside my walls. I called 911 immediately. And that is where this one leaves you. Standing in your own hallway, staring into a hole in the wall where a stranger has been sleeping while you slept 10 feet away. It only gets worse from here. So she made that call. 2 officers showed up within 20 minutes. They cleared the house room by room, confirmed the crawl space was empty, whoever had been in there was gone. They bagged everything, documented the whole setup. And then one of the officers said something that landed wrong. He told me this wasn't the first case like this he'd seen. I think he meant it to be comforting, like they knew how to handle it. But all I heard was, "This happens more than you think, and you were just the latest one." I couldn't stay in that house. I drove to my cousin Mara's place at 3 in the morning with Bruno in the back seat. He was shaking the whole drive. The next day, Mara came back with me. We bought 3 security cameras from Walmart. One in the hallway pointed at the closet, one in the living room, one at the back door. I called a locksmith and had every lock in the house changed. Then I took a board and screwed it straight across that crawl space panel from the outside. Sealed it shut. I told myself it was handled. New locks, cameras rolling, panel boarded, you're safe. I tried to sleep there that night and lasted maybe 40 minutes before I was standing in the hallway again, staring at that closet door. Bruno was right next to me, still growling. That's when my brain started doing the thing I couldn't stop. How long? How long was someone in there? I started replaying every night I fell asleep on the couch with the TV on. Every morning I showered with the bathroom door open because why wouldn't I? I live alone. Except I didn't. Every single one of those memories felt different now. Not like my life anymore. Like a crime scene I walked through without knowing. And that feeling she's describing, that slow backward horror of re-examining your own routine through a completely different lens, that's the part of this story that stays with you. It's not the sleeping bag, it's realizing your sense of safety was a fiction the whole time. She can't unknow it now. And the question she keeps circling back to, the one that won't let her close her eyes, is just how long this was her normal before she ever realized it. For the next few days, OP tried to convince herself the worst part was behind her. I checked the cameras every morning like clockwork. First night, nothing. Second night, nothing. The panel stayed boarded shut. Nobody came. I started to breathe again, just a little. But that's when my brain decided to replay everything. A glass of water I left on the counter 2 weeks ago that I found sitting in the sink. I told myself I just forgot. My laptop opened to a tab I didn't remember clicking on. A towel hanging damp on the rack on a day I hadn't showered. None of it meant anything at the time. All of it means something now. I called the station for an update and they told me DNA had been collected from the sleeping bag and sent to the lab. Could take weeks. I mentioned one more thing. A faint boot print on the inside of the closet floor. Work boot tread. Size 11 maybe? I don't own work boots. The officer went quiet for a beat and said they'd send someone out to photograph it. That night, I lay in bed with every light in the house on. Bruno pressed against my side, ears up, locked on the hallway. Every creak sounded like footsteps. Every pipe settling sounded like breathing behind the wall. We just lay there, watching the dark until the sun came up. The comment section had a few things to say about all of this. 11 minutes standing over you. I literally got chills reading that. Please tell me you have someone staying with you right now. 5 months. He was in there for 5 months. That means he was there for every phone call, every shower, every moment you thought you were alone. I feel sick. Former handyman with a key to the layout of the house. This is genuinely one of the most terrifying things I've ever read on here. How is he getting in and out? Police think he was using a basement window that doesn't lock properly from the outside. I never even checked it because it's behind the water heater and you can barely reach it. He'd squeeze through, go down the hallway, and slip behind the panel. The closet door didn't even need to be fully open. The panel slides sideways. I walked past that closet 100 times a day. And that last detail from OP is the one that sits with you. OP came back with an update post. And honestly, this is the one that changes everything. They found his journal in the wall, and it started 5 months ago. I need to get this out before I lose it again. Before I boarded up that panel, my cameras had been recording for several nights, and I just hadn't reviewed the footage. Tonight, I finally sat down and watched it. At 3:07 a.m. on the first recorded night, the closet panel shifts open. A man climbs out. He walks through the hallway into the living room where I'm asleep on the couch. He stands over me for 11 minutes. Doesn't touch me, doesn't move, just stands there looking down at me. Then he turns around, walks back to the closet, and climbs inside. I checked every night of footage, 7 times. 7 separate nights a stranger stood over my sleeping body, and I had no idea. I threw up. I sat on my cousin's bathroom floor and threw up until nothing was left. Then the police called with the DNA results. His name is Gerald Tierney. He was a handyman my grandmother hired years ago to do renovation work on the house. He had a copy of the original blueprints. He knew about the maintenance space between the walls. He had access this whole time. And the thing that finally broke me? Grandma had dementia in her last year, and she kept saying, "The man in the wall is back." We all thought she was confused. We patted her hand and changed the subject. She was trying to tell us. Nobody believed her. That last detail about the grandmother, that one sat with me for a long time. The fact that he had the blueprints means this wasn't impulsive. He knew that space was there. He planned this. I'm so sorry, OP. Released on bail? This man was living in your walls and standing over you while you slept, and he got bail? What is wrong with the justice system? Depending on the state, if there's no physical assault charge, they sometimes classify it as trespassing and stalking, which can be bailable. It's insane. OP needs a restraining order yesterday and cameras on every entrance of wherever she's staying now. 7 nights she had no idea. And a grandmother nobody listened to. OP came back one last time with an edit to the post. They found his journal in the wall, and it started 5 months ago. So here is where things stand. He was arrested. They picked him up at a gas station 2 towns over, and for about 6 hours, I felt like I could finally breathe. Then I got the call that he posted bail. Bail. This man lived inside my walls, stood over me in my sleep 7 separate times, and a judge decided he could walk free with an ankle monitor. I am done. I am staying with my cousin indefinitely. I have already contacted a realtor, and I do not care what the house sells for. I want it gone. I will never set foot in that place again. But the part that broke something in me is what the detectives told me yesterday. When they tore open more of the wall, they found a journal. His journal. Dated entries going back 5 months. 5 months. Bruno only started growling 3 months ago. That means for 2 full months, this man was crawling in and out of my walls, and my dog did not react at all. I do not know what changed. I do not know if he started getting closer or staying longer, or what finally tripped something in Bruno. Honestly, I do not want to know. All I know is that every time I close my eyes, I see him standing over me in the dark. I will never sleep without the lights on again. And then the comments came in. Your dog tried to tell you every single night. Give that dog the biggest treat of his life. He might have saved yours. This is the one that stays with you. Not because of monsters or ghosts, but because of the violation. The one place on earth where you are supposed to feel safe, and you were not. Your dog knew something was wrong before you did, and you almost did not listen. Your grandmother tried to tell people. She kept saying the man in the wall is back, and everyone wrote it off as dementia. Nobody believed her. And the journal dates tell you everything you need to know. Those entries started right after her funeral. He knew the moment the house changed hands. He was waiting. Sometimes the scariest stories are not about what lurks in the dark. They are about finding out it was never hiding at all. And that is the last story for today.